Hi, my name's Dave, and we are going to do a gel coat restoration project. This isn't going to be a type of project where we are going to buff out and try to save the original gel coat. This gel coat on this boat is pretty much gone. There is really no clear coat left on the boat from over the period of years of sanding and polishing. It's pretty much gone. It's lived its life. What I've done is I've taken 60 grit sandpaper and I have completely sanded this thing down. I've even sanded it down to the point where some of the fiberglass is coming through, which is okay because we're going to re-gel coat this whole project. Now I started over here with a test shoot and to try out the product, which is a product that I purchased from a company called US Composites. Their stuff is really good. This actually came out extremely good. I mixed it with a glitter that I had bought from Kitcraft, just regular polyester glitter. These are 25 thousandths flakes. And what I did was I put some glitter in with maybe a half a pint, and I probably put a pretty good scoop, maybe two tablespoons of the glitter, mixed it up, mixed it with the hardener, and shot it on just this corner, and then I did that twice, and then I put about 4 coats of clear on top of that, with the final one being a wax so that it could be sanded. Gel coat will not dry unless you find somehow to take away the oxygen that is around the surface, and the best way to do that in this case for me is putting a wax, a sanding wax, in the clear coat itself and shooting it on as its final coat, and then you let it sit overnight. It'll have like a rubber feel to it. It'll feel like rubber, and then it'll sand, and then when you sand it, it looks like the craters of the moon. It'll crater up because it'll orange peel really super bad, and I was really surprised that after it was all done, it's just hard and it's just beautiful. Now I have to finish sanding and probably sand most of this off because it'll be thicker than the rest of the boat, so it'll have to probably be sanded off. But I kept it on here just as kind of like a motivational thing, you know, to get this thing done. Well, this project is it's going to be a long project, and this boat is a boat that tell you a little bit about the boat. It's a 1978 CVX 20 Sprint. It's a Glastron Carlson boat. It has beautiful lines to this boat, and as you follow me along here, you can see for its age being 1978, you can see it has just a lot of character in the way that it looks and the way that it sits. It's very sleek. It has a sleekness to it. Like I said, the boat's already kind of taken apart, but this will be a project that I will very much enjoy after it's done. Now we're going to get to the next session and tell you a little bit more about what we're going to do to this boat. This is a second session to this boat restoration. This boat is actually going to get changed in color in the back part of this boat here. this boat originally was a silver metal flake. It kind of has a blue look to it, but it's really gray. And this in the back area, back in here in the transom splash well area, this is going to go to a charcoal black or gray that's going to kind of spread out and fade, and it's going to fade into some ghost flames that will go up to the front of the hood and a little bit through the sides of the boat. I've started dismantling the boat. I started taking out the interior. The interior was fairly new. It's just dirty, so I'll have to remove it to finish this project. Now, the process of finishing this boat will consist of a base coat, which this particular one will be done with a white, and the white will have a gray mixed into it, which will give us a pastel gray. That will be painted over the whole boat. Then there will be a tape line that will tape out around in the areas that are needed, and we will shoot those above this with the glitter. So the glitter will go on with a clear coat of glitter. Then the charcoal gray will be faded into that from the back, and will be faded around into that with the flame, and then there will be approximately 3 clear coats topped on that, with a final clear coat that has a surfacing wax in it. Now these are all going to have to be done in stages, and when I mean stages, I mean that this is going to have to be taped off, shot, sanded, and when I say taped off and sanded, I mean it's going to have to be taped off, and then it's going to have to be shot 2 different times. First with the color, and then with a hardener color, with a surfacing wax on top of that. Then each section has to be done exactly that way in that process. So when I say it's going to be done like this and like this and like this, there's actually 3 steps, 2 to 3 steps in each one of those processes that I mentioned. So to get to this here is probably 3 hours worth of work to get this process here done. So let's move to the next series of tapes to get more details. Okay, now that we've showed the plan in the first videos and the processes, let's get to a little more in depth of the work. There's a little bit of rough area still in some of this, and what we're going to do is we're going to get on our mask for breathing apparatus, because this stuff is bad particles, and we're going to do a little bit of sanding.
Now, as you can see, it doesn't really have to be sanded perfectly. You just have to sand it good enough that the first base coat will adhere to the surface that's there. You want to get any minor perfections or imperfections. You don't want anything high that's sticking up that when you sand it, it'll just be gone. You have to make sure that the surface is fairly smooth to your touch, and cleaning it and stuff like that we'll get into later. But for the most part, you just have to make sure that this is all smooth. Doesn't have to be perfectly smooth, and you don't want it like a polished finish. You want it a rough finish. So the sanding swirls and the little bit of grinding marks that get in there, that's all going to get covered up with the gel coat. The gel coat is very thick, and it will cover any imperfections, and you'll be resanding it. You're going to do a lot of sanding on your project. So this is how you get started. You get started by sanding this thing down. Now, I have to remove some the rest of the interior, and I need to remove the motor, and once I get all that done, then I can move to finishing out the rest of the boat on the interior side, and because that's going to be painted also, and then a little bit of the back area back in there. So we'll move to the next video. Hey, well, this would be part 4 of the re-gel coat on the boat. Sorry it took so long. I was busy doing other stuff, and the weather kind of sucked. But anyway, here we go. The boat's, I've been prepping the boat because it sat for so long. I wanted to make sure that I kind of resanded it a little bit, just lightly resanded, so that I would get to some kind of fresh stuff. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to actually start with the outer trim, and I'm actually going to put a thin layer on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the gel coat in a smaller cup here. Like so. And then I'm going to take some color. Actually, I'm probably going to take a little bit of reducer, or this is actually a styrene monomer or something like that. It's a thinner. You can do it by about 10%, maybe 15%. So I'm going to do that at about 10%. So that 10% is actually going to thin this out a lot, so that I could actually run or shoot it with this HVLP gun. I want it to be thin. So I'm going to mix it that way. Bless you, son.
Mom?
And then after that, I need to add some color to it because this is clear. So if I take some white, let me get a spoon. So I take some white. And what's funny is you can buy white and then you can mix colors to it, and it actually works really good. But I prefer to do the clear, and then mix the color with the clear. Okay. And I believe you can mix the color. I think you can mix the color up to 2% before you start having a real problem with it. So a couple of teaspoons in 500 milliliters isn't that much. And you can see how it looks there. See that? You can see that the white is in there, but as I mix, it's going to all turn white, and it's going to turn into a white gel coat. And the reason why I do this sometimes is because at the place where I get gel coat, I get it much cheaper when I buy a 5-gallon pail rather than a 1-gallon pail. So in other words, I buy 4 gallons of clear gel coat, and I get the 5th gallon free. And anybody can do that if you go to the right place. They don't care who does it, but it's cheaper that way. So, and I mix that. Now if you notice, my boat is gray, slight gray to a blue, right? So I make sure that's mixed up really good in there. There's no hardener in this yet, so I can mix all kinds of stuff. I usually don't put the hardener in until last, after I get everything mixed exactly the way that I want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my gray. Okay, so now as you can tell, the trim is a very light gray. It's very, very light. So the rest of the boat is a dark gray mixed in with the metal flake. Original. That's original color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this white and I am going to add so little bit of gray. And I only added about a drop. That's about it. Because you know what? You can add more, but man, it's hard to take it out. So I do that, and then you know what? I just eye it. Nah, needs a little more gray. Try that. Now, if this would have been a white, let's say a white gel coat, I'd probably be putting in a spoonful of gray. Whereas with this one, I'm adding in drops because the base color of this gel coat is clear. So the reaction is almost dead. You can see it's almost there. I think it just needs a little bit more. Now I need to go over here and check it against the hose. You know, I know this seems a little ridiculous, but it seems like I need more. Yeah, I probably overdid it. Nah, I think I'll get lucky. So, you know, this is pretty thin. This is pretty thin. If I hadn't put the styrene monomer in, it would have been quite a bit thicker. Still not liking this color gray. I think it's... Let me match it up with the glitter that I'm going to put in it. Yeah, I think that clear glitter is going to make it look lighter. So if I go darker, the glitter is going to make it look lighter. So we're just going to put a little more. That's probably good. And we're almost there. I mean, the right color is probably the most important thing. Now, if you were to shoot this in a dump gun, like after I mix it with the glitter, and you were to shoot this in the dump gun, it'd be like trying to spray paint this thing with a garden hose. That's how the volume of that comes out. So I won't use any or if very little thinner. It'll be almost straight gel coat when I paint it with the dump gun. You know, I think this is just about where I want it, because I want it a little bit lighter than the original because of doing it a little bit different than the original. So it's okay if it looks a little different. Now, I got about 600 milliliters here. This is hardener, which is MEKP, which is not like, it's not MEK, it's MEKP. It's different. Actually smells way different, is different, and is not your regular stuff. We're going to mix this in. Probably going to put about, for that little bit right there, I'm probably going to put about a teaspoon. Yeah, with the weather today, maybe just a hair more. Okay. And that's the hardener. Now, my time limit has started. I should add in some, this is a surfacing agent, and I'm going to add some of this in too. And I'm going to add in probably about another 2 to 3% of this. So, probably put a little more than that in there. About another teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half of the surfacing wax. And the reason why I want to add that is because I'm going to need to lightly sand this one last time. And if I don't put that in there, I won't be sanding it. The only time that you won't put the surfacing wax in there is if you're going to go right into the next coat, or you're going to go right into the next process, which I don't think I am. I'm just going to do this just to make sure that everything works good. I'm going to go ahead and load up. And this is a very cheap gun. This gun probably cost me 15 bucks. So if something goes wrong and it goes off into this gun, who cares? We'll buy another one for 15 bucks. Okay? Yeah, I don't like using this. It doesn't work. I will admit that an HVOP does a really good job at painting it, but it doesn't do a good enough job of getting the material on it. So if you look, if you take a closer look at how I'm trying to get this on here, my opinion, this isn't putting on any volume. Like maybe for touching up, you know? Yeah. I don't have a problem. It did really good back here where I just wanted to do a little touching up. You know, it worked out really good because I'm just touching it up. So I did a really good job just touching it up. You know, because I just need a little bit on there. Just enough to kind of fade in. Beautiful, you know. But on the rest of the boat, where I need thickness, this isn't going to get it on, you know? There's nothing to sand there. You just sand it and it's gone. Over here, no, isn't going to work for me. Just to show you the difference in how the HVLP works with Gelcoat. It's just good for touching up, and that's about it. Now what I'll do is, see, I've played around with it, right? And And I played around with it long enough that my gel coat in there is starting to go off just a little bit. It's not going to go off real fast like a two-part epoxy, but when the time comes, it will go off. But I have time. I have time to get my gel coat done, get it together. Okay. Make sure that that's good and clean. Now, I'm going to go ahead and this is the dump gun. You might have seen it in other people using them or something like that, you know. They're very simple. I can't say that this isn't going to be messy, because it is. But it really gets the stuff on there. It's still pretty thin. I can actually probably mix some straight gel coat with this and probably pop in a little more hardener, and I could probably make it thicker. So how about we do that? A chance it's going to get thicker. And it's clear, so it's not going to change the color, right? That's a lot. That's probably overkill for this little project. But see, no color change. Still the same color. Now, if I had white and I wanted to add more, and it's thicker, see, it got that thick consistency back, Now I've already added hardener to this, and I've added surfacing wax, but I just added another 250 milliliters, so I'll have to add another teaspoon. More. And let's go ahead and mix that in. Again, that's the surfacing agent. That makes it so that you can sand it. Otherwise, it will never dry. It might seem like it's dry, but it's not dry. And we mix. Which brings me to a story. When I did a floor, I changed the floor out on this boat also. And when I changed the floor out, it man, we were mixing 2-part epoxy, yeah, it was epoxy. It was epoxy resin, you know. And well, I think we did like 2 gallons, mixed it, me and a buddy of mine. My buddy kept mixing and I kept pouring, and we were wetting it out, and wetting it out, and wetting it out. What a lot of mixing we did that day. Fun though. Floor came out good. It's still in there and it's still solid. This boat was actually already together. I just decided I was going to re-gelcoat it just because. So anyway, that goes together like so. Dump gun, very easy. You just put this thing on here, push that on just like that. Put that right inside this big cup. Take this boy right here, slides right in here, just like that. Okay, this is where it gets messy. I like to start low. When it ripples like that, it means you got too much air. That's thick. Wait a minute, son. Not yet, son. Can I paint the boat? I think. There you go. That's how easy it is. Yeah. See? And then all I have to do is sand it smooth. And go on with my next coat. Watch out, son. There's a bee right there. Okay, well, next it'll be moving on to some color with the glitter. So I'll go in and I'll have to like finish sand it one last time, and I shouldn't burn through. Okay, it should be a somewhat smooth, and then I'll shoot the next clear coat on that with glitter. But before I do that, I'm going to do a light sand on the rest of the boat and make sure it's ready for the color that's going to go on the boat. So I guess there's going to have to be a part 5. So I guess we'll see you then. Welcome to part 5 of the Gelcoat restoration. What I've done here so far is I have taped off the area that I don't want to get any Gelcoat on, because I'm gonna spray in this center area a little bit different colored glitter. Only the glitter is a different color. It's going to be a black glitter, which is, I'm hoping to give me a nice shadow, dark image over this silver. And it's going to come on down only in the center. Now, I didn't cover this because I'm going to stay away from this area. I am not painting this area. I'm going to stay away from it. And then I'm going to shoot down in this area. Like a little, it's like a little V that's going to come down into the center of the boat. Then, after I shoot it with the black, then I'm going to strip off, just like they would do in a mold. I'm going to strip off this top layer coating, as you would say, and my paper's coming off here because the wind is ridiculous, and it needs to come off kind of quick. So I kind of have to retape this a little bit. Just a temporary tape. I'm not worried about inside in here because the interior is going to cover that. And it's not like the boat doesn't have somewhat of a gel coat on it now. You know, it's gone, but It still has just a little bit. You can zoom in here at what I did in part 4, and you can see I haven't even sanded it yet, but it's really thick. It's pliable. You know, it came out awesome. You know, so. So now we're gonna mix up. We're gonna mix up some clear gel coat, just a little bit, and then we're gonna put glitter in it. I'm gonna put black glitter, and I'm gonna paint the inside like I said once before. Then I'm gonna strip off this other layer of paper, and then I'm gonna mix up some clear gel coat with red glitter in it. And then there's only about maybe just a 1-inch strip that sits in there, and I'm gonna shoot that, and it's gonna kind of fade into it. So then as I sand that line out, when I do the silver on the next portion, then I'll tape off that and do the silver into the red, so it'll just fade from one to another. All right, so we mixed. So we'll get this thing mixed up, and away we'll go. Here we are doing a mix. I'm mixing that black glitter into the gel coat, which is just wicked. And really thick. I probably put well, I think those Dixie cups are like 12 ounces, so I probably put 4 ounces of that. I want to put a little bit of thinner in there, which is the styrene polymer, just to help it kind of thin out a little bit. It's awful thick. Yeah, this looks good. It's definitely black. You can see the consistency of black in here. It is just black. Which is what we want, because we don't want to use a base coat of black. We just want to use the glitter black. So when it sprays, it's going to go on light. Unbelievable. This is going to look hot. I'm going to actually use a lot of pressure on this, and air pressure, and I'm going to get kind of a distance away so that I can let it fan out. Alright, going with some hardener. We're not going to put any surfacing wax because we are going to have to put a clear coat over it. To sand out afterwards. We don't want to sand this coat. If we sand this coat, we will be sanding off our color in a way, you know. So, and it's not a solid color, it's a glitter. I think we're just about ready. Awful windy out here today. Never fails. On days that I don't paint, not a breath of wind. Days I paint, monsoon. Okay. We're going to take a break, and I'm going to get an air hose, and I'll be right back. And here we go. Gone with that. Gone with the wind, as they might say. Just faded in there a little bit. That way. Or is that Johnny Walker, his brother, black and red? So now we're going with, got the black on there. So now I got this red glitter, which is, this is like fire engine red or something. Now these bags are really tight. Doggone child food. Okay, so I grabbed this cup. We're going to get ourselves a, they could have given me a smaller bag. They could have given me a smaller bag. And then we get the doggone cup in there. Oh, geez. Doggone red glitters everywhere. You want to talk about hot. I got glitter stuck to my sticky hands, but that's all right. Oh yeah, this glitter's hot. Look at that. We just mix this thing and mix. Oh yeah. Can't say that don't look hot. Gotta be careful though. Okay. Need a little bit of hardener. Actually, you know what? Take that back. I want a little thinner. Just a little bit. Just so it kind of settles down a little bit. Nothing like painting a boat outside in monsoon season, you know? Okay, so the red's all mixed, and man, does it look like hot. If there was a red that was cool, it would be this red that was cool. Red. Well, let's see how she goes. Got it where we want it. It's different. With all this glitter, I'm going to the disco tonight. Now, I'll go in with the silver metal flake and I'll actually go right over what I just did. And believe it or not, it will fade that out and it will look really good. In spots like this where it kind of, you know, did this, where it got, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that at all. You just take some acetone on a rag Because remember, there's no wax in this right now, right? So it won't stick. So acetone will take it right off. So you can see. Now you don't want to get acetone on what you just did because you'll ruin it. But you do want to go through and wipe down any overspray that you might have gotten on it. Now we're going to have to retape the white trim now. Now acetone will not attack anything that has already been cured. So that's one good way to find out if your gel coat is cured. You can touch just a little piece of acetone to it, and if it gets sticky, you're gonna have to find some way to maybe put a PVA of some type. Sometimes what I do is I take the wax that I mixed with it to harden it, and I'll put it in my HVLP gun, and I'll shoot it just lightly mist over it so that it will seal it from the air, and that works. Believe it or not, we'll try it out. I did try to find a spray booth to paint this in, but you know, around here where I'm at, they don't do that kind of crap, you know. There's a lot of boat manufacturers around here, but they don't want to rent out their spray booth. Now this isn't critical that I do this now, that's for sure. Because I still have if I get this taped off and shoot the rest of it and then put a clear coat over it, man, I'll be pretty far along. And I think this came out about the way I wanted. And it's gonna look real good. And it's gonna soften up when I hit it with the cylinder. And stuff like this will fade. It'll fade in. You can see that line. See, there's a black line in there, But once it kind of gets hit a little bit more, you won't see it. Okay. All we got to do is, I think what we'll do is we'll tape it up and we'll go to part 5. Or is that 6? I think it's part 6. Yeah. Part 6 is next. We're going to do the overcap color with the glitter. And it'll be the glitter is the color. It's already got a base of gray underneath of it, which I did weeks ago. Then it has a 25 thousandths flake on top of that. Then it's been sanded down, and then this color, and now we're going on with the 15 thousandths flakes with the clear over just the silver part. So we'll be looking good. Talk to you soon. We got it taped off. This is part 6. We got like the, I want to call it the ghost. Originally I was going to do a ghost flame, but then I thought, well, you know what, I don't know if flames are still in or if flames are going to be in. Doesn't matter. So I came up with a design that I like. So this is like a design that I came up with, which is just like basically a racing stripe or a super sport stripe or something like that. And that's what I prefer to do, and I wanted to do it in black and red because I'm a Jimmy Walker fan. So now I'm going in on top of all this, I'm going in with some silver glitter, which is a polyester glitter. That's about 15 thousandths flakes. Need a stir stick, and then I'll stir this. Let's use this one instead. A lot of glitter. Yeah, so this should be fun. So this glitter looks really cool. It's I just love the glitter. The 1970s look with the glitter in it, believe it or not, it's still on a lot of boats. A lot of boat manufacturers still use that glitter, you know. It might be a little finer, but they still use it. don't need a whole lot. Maybe 2 quarts. You always want to make sure you mix it really good. You honestly can't mix it too much. Unless you mix it too long and it hardens up on you right in the cup, and then, you know, shame on you. Even this silver is really neat looking color, you know. It just these are about 15 thousandths flakes. So, little acetone. Okay, then we're going to pop this container into this container. Pop this little baby on this one. So on and so on. There we go. All or nothing. One more batch of the metal plate for the other side. That would be 2 quarts, like I said. Oh yeah. Well, there you go. Here's cleaning it up. The last thing I'll have to do is sand and do the glitter on the white part. So we're looking at how it's coming there, you know. You have to get this off kind of fairly quick. As we're we'll come back with probably a final part. Until then, this is almost concluding in for the gel coat restoration on the glass part. Thank you for watching.
Mom.
Hey, I'm just doing a knockdown. After I sprayed the glitter on that last coat, what happens is the glitter kind of stands up a little bit. You know, it stands up a little bit high. So you have to just kind of knock it down just to make it smooth. If you continue to put coats on over that, what's going to happen is your coats are going to get really thin. It's just not going to work. You have to knock down the high spots on the from that glitter coat, because we did, if you remember right, previously we did the glitter coat, and then we did a clear coat over top of it that had wax so that we could resurface it. So now we've done that, and then now we're just knocking it down. What? I'm sanding the boat. What are you doing?
I'm not watching you.
Oh, okay.
Say hi.
And it won't hurt, because let's say you have some scratches from the sandpaper, you know, not like really deep scratches or something like that, but you know, sanding scratches. Well, when you spray over it, you're going to spray right over it, and you're never going to see those scratches or any of those surface imperfections, like say right here. If you look at this where I've sanded it, where it kind of fades from black and silver and red, you can see how it kind of looks like, you know, where I've taken some of the toughness, because there's kind of a toughness on here. You can see where I've taken that off. This right here, you're never going to see that. If you were to wet this with water, it would all become one color and would look nice. And that's exactly what's going to happen when you put your clear coat back over it. So this little abrasions and stuff like that, you're not going to see that in the end. came alive, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what we got here is the starting of 8. And this is going to be the final clear coat, which is going to bring out the gloss. It's going to look glossy at first, and then you're going to have to sand it and then buff it, and then it's going to look like glass. As you can see, it's kind of getting all the glitter or metal flake shine back to it, Whereas if you look at the rest of the boat over here, you can see the metal flake in it, but it doesn't glisten because the clear coat is what makes it glisten. So I'm gonna mix up some batches and start clear coating this thing. That's just clear coat or clear gel coat with no color in it or anything. And you just add a little bit. Just adding a little bit of thinner. It's not thinner, it's called oh, I forget. It's a styrene monomer, and that is a thinner for gel coat. And then we're adding wax, just a little bit. Don't take much. And then we add a hardener. Today's a little warm, so you don't have to add a lot of hardener. This is all, the hardener depends on the temperature, your ambient temperature of how much you're gonna mix. And I'm mixing about, I would say, 650 milliliters, which is almost a couple pints. It's almost 2 pints, I think. Pint is 16 ounces. Yeah, about a pint and a half, I guess. And you just mix it up. It's really easy to mix. Then we you pop it in this here gun. Clip it on, plug it in, and shoot. Yeah, that went on good. Might be hard to tell, but it looks like the craters of the moon. I'll start from here now and go up towards the front of the boat. I think the next place this goes is well, and we got the clear coat on there. I'm gonna estimate and say 5 mils. And then we're gonna go over it. We're gonna hit it with some coarse sandpaper, about 80 grit. Just almost wipe it with that. You know what I mean? Just to get down the high spots. And then we'll go through the grits of sandpaper. I guess till about 400, and then we'll break out the polish and polish from there. Some people have different different ways of doing their polishing. Some people will go all the way up to like, let's say 1,000 grit, 2,000 grit sandpaper. You know, it's whatever works for you. Some people have good. I usually take it to about 400. After 400, you can pretty much polish it from there. But some people go to 1,000, 800. They'll go from like 400, 800, 1,000, and then polish it from 1,000 grit. But I think we'll play it by ear, because we are trying to do this on a low budget. Not that, you know, it's that expensive. It's not. We're probably looking at under $500 for all the supplies that you would need. Maybe 600. So this thing is, you know, it's still tacky in some spots. Right here, it almost feels dry, but you know, I'm not going to sand it today. But I think we'll do some sanding and polishing maybe tomorrow. 24 hours. We'll see how it looks. We'll play it by ear. I think that would conclude for Section 8. That's what you would call it. Or and we'll come back with 9 later. Hey, welcome to part 9. This is sanding out, the final sand out. The way it works is you got to go in with some pretty rough sandpaper to get them craters out, you know, because it craters up. And you can see here, I'll try to make it as visual as possible. This is sanding it with 60 grit right here. Okay, you can see how it's smooth, and then you can see over here how it's really orange peeled. I always call it the craters of the moon because it's pretty rough. You know, it's not like painting a car with paint from acrylic lacquer or acrylic enamel or something like that, where it goes on really smooth. You know, this goes on really rough because you're doing this backwards. Remember, you don't gel coat a boat like this when you build the boat. It's a completely different process. The ass backwards way of doing it, but the results are just as good. It's just a lot more work to do it. So this is a 60 grit here that I do with my DA, and and it'll look like this. And as I sand it, I'll sand it to where all those little pits will go smooth, you know. So you have to watch. See, there's a couple little areas right here that's kind of hard to see. I think I just wiped them out. Maybe I can kind of scratch them up a little bit. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see how there's like little shiny dots right there, you know, little shiny dots right here. See, these are you can see how the dust has got into these little things, and I can scratch it out. I can scratch it out of those little things. Anyway, that's what I'm sanding off. So I'm sanding it down and watching it very carefully as I sand it, because you don't want to go too far, because you'll just sand it right off. So what I do is I go on with the DA and kind of rough sand it, and then I'll go to finer grits, as you can see right here. I'll go to some finer grits to get that shine. I think this one here was done 400 grit, and I may go to 800 and to 1,000 grit. But you can see the difference between just the natural shine of this, and we'll even polish it and high polish it, and it'll come out even, you know, more shiny than that, you know, more smooth. Now I have another sander that I'm going to switch to, because what I do is I do the DA, and then I go to the flat sander, or the straight sander, or the inline sander, or whatever you want to call it. I'll go to that to make sure that I'm keeping the boat flat. You'll see as this part unfolds. And there. Now I've inline sanded where I just used the DA, just to make sure that the DA isn't gouging in the surface, because we still want to maintain, you know, a nice surface, as nice as possible. We don't want it real ripply and bumpy and lumpy, right? We want to do it perfect. And so I always like to at least sand it nice and straight in a line while I'm doing roughing. When you get to the finishing part of it, you can go straight to a DA, or also use the flat sander or the longboard sander, or whatever you want to call it, on the finer grits also. The DA, you know, it depends on what you prefer. Sometimes I think the DA is a little faster, but this is pretty fast too. So I always try to go back and forth and mix and match it. Sometimes you can't use the flat sander in areas because it's not flat. Only in the flat areas you can really use the flat sander, unless it's like a convex radius where you're going around something. You know, you're going around something. If you know, sometimes it's really good also An inline sander will get you inside of a corner too, you know, this way. But up here, say up here, you know, that's not going to be good because you're touching here and here. You might be able to do it like this and run it down this way because it slopes, you know. But here you can move this like this on these radiuses. It just depends on what shape you're going for. So you just sand it down really smooth, go through the grits. I'm starting with about 60 grit. I use about 100 grit. Oh, I think this might be 80 grit. I think this is 80 grit, yes. So I'm using 60 grit on the DA and I'm using 80 grit on the inline sander. And then, you know, I think I have just this section left. I've already done the rest of the boat with the coarse stuff. So in other words, it all looks smooth like this on the rest of the boat. And I would say it's probably taken me 20-30 hours to sand it all out. And then as I go through the finer grits, it will go a lot faster because the first one taking all of this roughness off is the longest process. To go through the rest of the processes of the different grits of sandpaper will go much faster in comparison. So hopefully in part 10 I'll be buffing this thing out. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We'll see you next time at part 10.
All right, well, here we are with part 10. And, well, this is a perfect day to rub out and compound and polish a boat. You know what I mean? We have been through all the steps of sanding in different areas. Now we're down to polishing this thing with this is actually some pretty coarse compound. And what I've done is I put some compound up here on this deck right here, and you can just usually start out pretty slow. And I really work it in. Really work that compound in. Well, this is actually the coarse stuff. This isn't your, your fine, high polish. This is just your coarse. So, it's looking pretty good. Looking pretty shiny. It's pretty smooth. It's not 100% like perfect, but it probably doesn't have to be. It's already almost blinding. So you have to wear sunglasses and do it in the shade and not look directly into it. Okay, I think I'll do a demo here. There's I kind of hit this with the extremely coarse roughing compound. Now I'll come back and change my pad. To a different pad. All this new technology just to buff stuff out. Now this one is more of a fine compound. Start out at still slower speed. Well, Well, it don't look bad. That's for sure. Yeah. So there you go. And you can sand it and polish it and sand it and polish it until you're blue in the face. And that thing will just look like glass. Well, that's really it. I mean, there's not too much else. I think I'm gonna do some detail work in here. I'll do some lettering inside here. Finish out the interior. Finish out the back part of this boat, and then put the whole thing back together, and we're done. That's it. Thank you for watching. You know what? I hope that this helps anybody who watches it. It's been an experience. It's a long project, depending on how much time. I have very little time to do this kind of stuff, so it takes months. But for people that have more time to put into it, they can do it in a very short time, a couple weeks. It's fun. It's a great hobby. I just hope I was able to help anybody that watches it. And thanks for watching.